afternoon, Ms. Safia and Ms. Jenny. Please have a seat. Thank you for coming in. I'm Ms. MISHALII and they are my colleagues, Mr. Raymond and Mr. Rico. Before we start, we would like to assure that everything you share here is confidential.
However, before we start, we would like to be transparent with you about our fees. For our first meeting, you will be free of charge. After that, any subsequent meetings will be charged at a rate of 150 ringgit per hour. Are we clear on that matter?
Yes, we are clear on that matter.
Thank you. So, we will first listen to your situation, then we will ask a few questions before advising you. So please go ahead.
In May 2025, I engaged Blue Peaks event to organize my company's annual awards dinner, which was scheduled for 30 August 2025. It was an important event because it involved around 300 guests, including our managing directors and also senior executive and several key clients. So we entered into a written agreement where Blue Peak was responsible for handling the entire event. So this included the venue coordination, stage setup, audiovisual equipment, and catering supervision, and also printed materials such as programs and also banners. So the total cost was around 85,000 and I paid 40,000 ringgit in advance. However, on the day of the event, things did not go as planned. I was informed that the ballroom we had agreed on was not available because the Blue Peak had failed to confirm the reservation. So they moved us to a smaller venue, which was overcrowded and did not have a proper stage and sound system. In addition, the printed material were missing and dinner service was delayed by more than 90 minutes. Many guests become frustrated and some of our important clients left early. So this whole event when this organized and also unprofessional. I felt really embarrassed and stressed, especially in front of my managing director and some of our important clients, because I trusted Blue Peak to handle everything for that event. So my managing director was very unhappy and publicly criticized the event, even though I explained that Blue Peak was the one who responsible for everything, organizing everything for that event. I was still blamed for the situation. So a few weeks later, the company deducted the 15,000 ringgit from my performance bonus, stating that I had failed to manage the event properly. Because of this, I would like to know whether I can cover and whether I can recover the 40,000 ringgit that I paid to Blue Peak events, and as well as the 15,000 ringgit that was deducted from my bonus. I also want to clear my name, as I don't believe that this situation was entirely my fault.
I was there. The venue was overcrowded and the equipment made the program look unprofessional. The company's reputation suffered and Safia was unfairly blamed. That must have been very difficult, especially with your employer holding you responsible. Let's go through this step by step. Ms. Safia, you mentioned that earlier that you have signed a written agreement with Blue Peak. Just to be clear, do you have a copy of that document with you?
Yes, I kept the contract.
And you say you pay 40,000 in advance. In other words, you transfer that amount before the event took place. Do you have the receipt or proof of the payment?
Yes, I have the payment record.
Alright. You also explained that HR deducted 15,000 ringgit from your bonus after the event. Can I confirm? Did they give you a formal letter or email about that deduction?
Yes, HR issued a letter confirming it.
Thank you. You also mentioned that Blue Pig was apologizes about the venue. Was that apology in writing, like an email, or was it verbal?
They sent an email afterward apologizing for not confirming the ballroom booking.
Could you walk us through the timeline a little bit more? For example, when did you first realize that the ballroom wasn't available?
It was on the morning of the event. That is when they told me the booking had not been confirmed.
And how did your managing director respond when he saw the problem at the events?
He was furious. He said that I had failed to manage the event properly and later blamed me for the whole situation.
I understand. That must have been very stressful, especially since you rely on Blue Pig to handle those responsibilities. Based on what you have told us, it appears that Blue Pig may fail to carry out the several key responsibilities under the agreement, such as confirming the venue, providing the proper equipment, and ensuring the event was properly managed. So, under the Section 40 of the Contract Act 1950, if one party was failed to perform their obligation, the other party may have the right to treat the contract as terminated. In simple terms, the law was expect the both parties to do what they agree. If one party was failed to do so, it may amount to a breach. In your situation, the service you described, like securing the correct ballroom and coordinating the event, are likely to be considered the exceptional terms or the conditions because they go to the root of the contract. If these exceptional terms were not fulfilled, it is likely to regard as a fundamental breach. Since it has affected the whole purpose of the agreement, which was to organize a successful event, so based on the fact that you have shared, there is a strong indication that the Blue Pig may be in breach of contract. However, this will ultimately depend on the full terms of the agreement and all of the supporting evidence.
So we can say that legally they broke the contract.
From what we can see so far, it is likely there has been breach, but we will need to review the contract in detail before giving a final conclusion.
What if Blue Pig say they try their best?
They will need to prove that the issue was caused by something beyond their control. However, the apology in email may weaken the argument.
So you can claim back the 40,000 ringgit advance because you pay for a service that weren't delivered. So you can also claim the 50,000 ringgit bonus deduction since that loss flow directly from Blue Pig's failure. So reputation damage is harder to prove, but if you have evidence such as client leaving earlier or your director's criticisms affecting your career, it can strengthen your case.
But what if they argue that the delay was beyond their control?
Unless they can prove something extraordinary, the responsibilities lies with them. So they have a duty to confirm that the venue and manage catering. So their apology email already shows that they accept the fault.
Will this affect Safia's career?
So no. In fact, taking action shows that you are holding the right party accountable. The blame lies with the Blue Pig.
Can I recover the legal fees too?
Sure, if you win in court, you can usually claim the cost. So if we settle earlier, the costs are lower also.
So before we commence any legal option, we need you to prepare some substance, which include the written contract signed with Blue Pig, the proof of payment of 40,000 ringgit, photograph or video of the alternative venue and poor setup, witnesses' statement from colleagues and guests, documentation of the 15,000 ringgit deduction from your bonus, and lastly, the correspondence with Blue Peak regarding the event. Okay, so for your legal options, includes firstly, negotiation or settlement, where we will send a formal letter of demand requesting refund and damages. Secondly, we could also file a civil suit, which we will file a claim in court for breach of contract. This may take time and also involve costs. Your last option is ADR, which are mediation or arbitration. If this option is provided in the contract, then it could be faster. An alternative course of action would be to limit your claim to the 40,000 ringgit advance payment. This would strengthen your case and avoid dispute over consequential losses, but you would forgo compensation for the 15,000 ringgit deduction.
But what if they counter sue?
They will need strong ground, which they do not have. You hired them, and they failed to deliver. The evidence is in your favor.
And what about the legal fees?
If we settle early, then the cost will be lower. If we go to trial, then the cost will be higher. But you can claim them back if you win.
Can I settle this privately without going to the court?
Yes, you can negotiate directly, but a formal demand letter shows that you are serious. If they respond positively, settlement is possible.
To summarize, the Blue Peak may have breached the contract under Section 40 of Contract Act 1950, and you may to claim the damages under the Section 74 of Contract Act 1950. You can recover the 40,000 advance payment and the 15,000 of bonus deduction. Your next step is to gather all the documents and proceed with a letter of demand, followed by the negotiation or a legal action if necessary. We will assist you throughout the process to ensure your rights are protected.
Thank you so much. That gives me clarity and also confidence.
Yes, we'll start gathering the documents right away.
Excellent. Once you have them, we will draft the demand letter.
And remember, mediation is often quicker and less costly. If Blue Peak is willing, that may be the best first step.
Thank you for both coming in. We will work together to ensure that you get the remedy you deserve.